Yo.
Hey, mate, can you
Yep.
hear me?
Yep. Yeah, I can hear you.
Hang on, let me plug in my
We're
mic.
already live, right?
What's that?
It says we're live already.
Are we live? We
It
are
says,
live.
It says we're live.
Hang on. Yes, we are live. Let me see in the chat.
Dude,
Are we live?
the price is actually pumping at the moment. If you want to bring up a chart before we get to criticisms.
Yes. I'll bring up the chart and I'll let you talk because I've got to just work out some technical stuff in the background.
Yeah, sure. So I've been looking at, can everyone still hear me? I've been looking at this line. I've actually been looking at a range of downtrends, but the one I'm watching right now most closely is this one that goes from here to here, which we're basically on this trend line right now, and we've come up on. So we've had this green uptrend, and these are 1 hour candles, so this is all fairly small time frame stuff. By the way, mad flex on this channel that I drew like ages ago on stream, by the way, on my channel, where I said it was possible that we might just sort of go sideways in this channel and then either break out or down. That has pretty much been, I haven't moved this black line, and we've pretty much been in that channel the entire time. But what I would like to see, like the price is literally pumping right now. We're at 3.48 cents. So if we can get past this local downtrend, then the next reasonable downtrend that I could find was this blue one. And then there's this greenish line, which is a much more high time frame one that goes all the way back to 7th of May. So a week into the start of this month. And so, yeah, so that's what I'm looking for to get some, to get the party started. I know it sounds ridiculous that I'm getting excited about pumps this small, these little tiny little baby pump for ants. But oh yeah, look at this. We're actually breaking out of this downtrend right now. So we'll see what happens with that. If we obviously we already had an attempt up here that failed and came back in. And now we're currently in the process of potentially having another shot at breaking out. So that would be, it's either going to be that this downtrend breaks out or this uptrend breaks down. Obviously, usual commentary, which I gave about these two arrows over here, is that technicals would suggest that the breakdown is more likely because everything's bearish and we've been in downtrends, etc. And if I had moving averages on here as well, you'd see that they're all bearish and providing resistance. But fundamentally, Hex is always bullish. So, and in fact, this technical formation, the bullish side of it is actually more aggressive in terms of the slope of the line. So yeah, day 43, you back?
I'm back, bro.
Sick. Great timing. I just finished my little spiel about the little baby pump for ants. And so we can get to my criticism.
Well, look, just on the baby pump, even though it's a baby pump, if you're buying in at close to that bottom, that baby pump is still like a 10%.
Oh,
pump,
yeah. Oh, bro. So anyone who had the balls to buy 3 cents is up 17%. So when you know how we're talking about the difference between crypto and legacy, making 17% in like a couple of days is like, that in itself would sound like a scam to people who only know. Yeah, that people in legacy would be like, that is certainly a scam. You cannot make 17% in several days. That's nonsense.
And before you get to your criticism that you're going to make,
well, I guess we'll call it a concern. We'll call it a concern rather than a criticism. Yeah.
I had a limit order. Like I did a limit order.
Nice.
And I had it for 7 days. And
oh no,
bro,
did it time out before
it timed out?
Oh,
bro, I'm telling you, it timed out like a couple of hours, and I'd forgotten. So it timed out because I remember looking at it when it hit 0.02, like 0.028 something, 0.028,
Bruh.
so whatever. And I looked at it and I'm like, that's been there for long enough for my limit order to get filled. And then I went back and checked it out, and the balance in the account was exactly like the hex balance in the account was exactly the same. And I was just like, motherfucker.
Bro,
So I went in and had a look, and then it
sucks.
timed out. Look, it wasn't like,
Even still, man, like
it would have been nice for it to go through. Hey, it would have been nice.
what?
So
Oh shit. What's particularly distasteful about that is it's not about the money. It's the fact that you had the correct investment thing. Oh, sorry, I was just going to go on Twitter and shill the link of this stream. I didn't mean to. I forgot that my screen was being shared, so I'll just pump that. I'll just pump this link.
Should I? Do you want me to put the screen?
No. I didn't. I forgot that the screen was being shared. Yeah. So I just wanted to let you know I wasn't going to start, going and looking at Bitcoin charts or anything that would be controversial. So what we just talking about? Oh yeah. So basically the thing that's particularly nasty about that is you had the correct investment thesis, you had the correct execution. These are two things that are actually quite rare, right? Like, so for your investment thesis to be correct and the fact that you actually took the correct action, then for it to fall through because of.
But that's my fault though, because I should have been there.
Do you get to choose the time frame?
You do. You get, and
Oh,
I
okay.
chose 7 days. So it had just ticked over the 7 days by a matter of like a couple of hours. But I'd actually forgotten exactly. I didn't write down when I did it, and it's not. I'm not sure. Maybe someone in the chat. By the way, thank you to everyone who's come across to this stream. Really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. That would be really, really cool. Yeah. So I just didn't do it, man. I should have like noted down the time and then gone in and reset it. Yeah. I see that. Johnny Kaz is saying you reset every 3 days for 7 days. Yeah. That makes sense. Do you know? But the thing is that, have you used these limit orders on Matcha?
No, I haven't. I think
pretty cool. They don't cost anything. They're free.
But so those gasless transactions or whatever are the person who takes the other side of it pays the gas, or sorry, the ARB bot or whatever will pay the gas. But what that means is the price actually has to move far enough past your order for the ARB bot to consider it to be profitable to do it, even though, while it sounds like it's free, but you're actually paying it in the price being,
it's like
lower than what you asked for before it'll actually get executed. So you're buying it.
It's like when you go to the bank and ask for an exchange rate, and some banks will have a fee.
Exactly.
To swap your money over, and some banks will say, no, there's no fee. This is the thing, but the rate is
exactly
rubbish.
Yeah.
Well,
so
look,
so it's included in the price, really. Like it's not free.
But do you know what the thing is, though?
But it has to be done that way around, because you're not there to pay. You're not there to pay the gas, and especially if you've got a hardware wallet, you can't have it. you can't do it at the time. So this is the smart way to do it. I'm not saying it's a scam, but I'm just saying it's not free.
No, it's definitely not a scam. And the reason it isn't a scam is because when you place your limit order, you are determining the amount of
that you're willing to pay, and that's what you're going. And that's what you're going to pay. Yes.
That's what you're going. So if it moves slightly more,
but what it does mean though is that if it actually does hit your price only just and then go back up, you won't get filled.
It won't get filled. No.
So that's something. So that some people might not realize that, and they'll be like, "Oh, sweet, I would have picked that order up." And then I think that might have actually happened to me once, not on Matcha though. I was doing it on a different platform. I haven't used Matchas once. I think I had an order not get filled, and I was like, "What the fuck?" The price actually did go there, and that was the reason it didn't go low enough for it to actually get the ARB bots to execute it.
And also, I've been setting the slippage. Like usually, the slippage is like
tight.
No, it's
Do you go
usually
tighter?
0.5.
Okay.
No, I've like increased the slippage slightly because there's so little volume that there's so like I just felt like you need to have a bit of slippage there just in case.
Yeah, see.
But yeah, so that's how that went down, man. I was just like, because it should have definitely filled that limit order, but hey, you can't win them all.
Yeah. So my concern about this stream that Richard just did, and I know, look, I'll admit that I obviously now watch his streams with a critical eye in preparation
With the red
for
pen,
this, for the
fucking underlining and circling shit.
Dude, so I want to give a shout out to that website hexsearch.io, where you can search almost all of Richard Hart's video content with a text search that will search words. Like this is some high tech shit. Like I didn't even know this technology existed.
Let's bring it up, and are you able to bring that up on screen?
Yep.
Let's do an example of something that, because this is an excellent tool. Because
this thing's legendary.
Yeah,
this thing's freaking
legendary. Actually, we were having a disagreement in our chat the other day about like something.
Yeah, you and Sammy.
Yeah, we were not like disagreement.
Not a disagreement. We were just questioning whether Richard had actually how strongly he had suggested that Pulse could do a 10,000x or at all. Like we were like, did he actually say it, or did he just imply it, or are we just tripping?
What I had said.
I'm sharing that, by the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So what I had said was that I remember him talking about like PulseChain, but I don't remember him ever saying it would do a 10,000x. However, I remember people asking him that question and him saying, "I don't know." Like, I don't know.
Yeah. He's very careful. He's very careful to never make statements that could have legal implications. So I knew he wouldn't have ever specifically said PulseChain will do a 10,000x. So yeah. And so what was your search term that you?
What did I search?
Because I think at the time I punched in PulseChain 10,000x. So while most hexagons are out there using this thing to go to war on Twitter, where they can find stuff that Richard has said in the past that was like elite, like calling that the Celsius network would go down, price calls, all sorts of shit, which I think is great. And I think Richard is fucking legendary, and definitely his impact has many times outweighed in the positive to anything that I ever criticized him about. I think, I think he's legendary. I respect the shit out of him. But for me personally, I do believe he has said things that are disingenuous about Bitcoin. So I just rolled in here myself and I searched for Bitcoin. Because one of my friends, I don't know if I mentioned to you, I've got a friend from high school who's like literally one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. And he was a very close friend of mine in high school, still is. And when he reviewed my script for debating Richard Hart, one of his comments was, he said a couple of times in here, you've sort of quoted him saying, you said this, but then you haven't actually like referenced where he said it. And he said, I think it's important for you to go and find the exact quote and be able to say, on this date in this video, you said this. And I was like, in my head, I was like, man, because the number of times I've done it several times, I was thinking, shit, this, I'm going to have to, and he's got thousands of hours of content, right? So I was like, this is going to take forever if I want this thing to be airtight. And then some mofo comes out with this thing, and I can just literally punch in the word Bitcoin, and it just brings up every time that Richard has ever talked about Bitcoin in all his videos with time-stamped links. It's just, so I've been going through this, and just, so now when I debate Richard, and notice I say when, not if, I can literally say, on this date in this video, you said this. Now what's up? Like, check this out. I disagree because of this reason. Here's the evidence. Like what? Like, please correct your shit. So this tool for me in particular is going to be so valuable, save me so much time, and make my debate strategy so much stronger.
I should just put this out. Like, I'm sure most of the people watching already know this, but just in case you're the one or two people watching who doesn't, Tangent here wants to debate Richard Hart. Don't you, mate?
Yes,
you want to debate
correct,
Richard Hart.
Correct.
Now
correct.
there was a
there was like a little YouTube short from Kinetics.
Yeah.
Where it was like
is there any way we can see that?
The tagline, I think I tweeted it. The tagline was something about how everyone's too scared to debate Richard. And I was like, over here, not scared. Like, not just not scared, but have been actively vocal about wanting to do it for a while now. That's here. Everyone is scared to debate Richard Hart YouTube video. I'm not sure. Will you guys be able to hear this though? Oh, can you hear that? Can you hear that? 43?
No. If you can you shoot me that link?
Yes. Shit, here. In private chat. But yeah, sorry, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent though. Although I guess it's all relevant and related. So I'm actually not sure who made this site, but whoever did it is, I have to thank them. Like I did tweet it out to try and raise. I think.
I mean, you think about
the Hex community. The Hex community was already amazing at very quickly finding content, like Hex content or Richard Hart content, required to smash on haters. That was already, there was a very capable segment of our community was already doing that. But this is just going to make our shit next level, because it means everyone, if anyone ever thinks, hang on a second, I'm pretty sure Richard Hart, or even if you don't remember, like even if you don't have a memory of him, say a project goes down, like say the next project goes down, it's like some project. People could be like, I wonder if Richard actually ever talked about that project and the risks associated with that type of shit, or a generic search term where it could be like, say that type of project that goes down is a farming project, and you could literally just go in here and go, I wonder if Richard's ever talked about farming. Boom, watch the links and go, yep, he said right here that don't do that dumb shit because of this and this reason, and then boom, tweet the link, timestamped, and it's just eventually people are going to learn the legitimacy of Hex and the legendary status of Richard Hart.
This tech to just search videos,
I know, right?
for words,
dude.
So that this is like,
it's madness.
Like you're typing it in, right? But think about like what Google would have. Like,
yes, this is kind of like a reverse search, right? Like as in, or I guess, do you know what I think? Because you know how the guy at the top, I think it says that it's 80 videos that have been like indexed. So I think it has to take each video and go and actually just goes through it and basically does like voice to text conversion.
I don't think so, dude. I don't think so, because if you have a look at every video, there is a, is this right? Can you download? I think you can download a transcript of the text.
YouTube.
YouTube probably automated.
Yes,
that, like he's taking that automatically, and then you're scanning through that text. So you're still relying on YouTube's automatic, subtitle.
And sometimes it gets it wrong. Like sometimes, especially with the word hex, it sometimes thinks that people are saying something else. Like, I think I've seen that before. I mean, I normally have subtitles switched off, but sometimes they randomly like turn themselves back on or some shit. And I've seen when Richard's been talking about hex. Although let's just actually look how many results there are for the word farming. Holy crap. So anyway, if I search hex on it, it's got it.
So we still haven't gotten to the criticism yet, have we?
We haven't. So although, so for this search for hex, I think that this is less than what you would expect. So I think maybe I'm right about that whole, like, this is less results coming up for something that should be basically one of the things he talks about the most. You would expect the results to be like 20 times more pages of results than other words like farming. And this is only about the same. So I think you're spot on about how this works. But anyway, it doesn't matter how it works. It's fucking legendary. So
yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome.
My concern / criticism about, and I mean, aside from the usual stuff, where
just before we, like, one more, I hate to do this.
We're teasing the fuck out of everyone. Like, we've just started this conversation like 100 times.
I'm not doing this on purpose. I just have this video I want to show.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I want to show this. Yeah. Tell me, can you hear this?
I don't know why I'm leaning forward. Yes, can hear.
All right, Discourse Syndicate community, Hex community, all of you crypto pirates, I'm your guy Kinetics. I'm going to be meeting with the big man himself today. Really, really exciting. You've taken attacks, you've taken slings and arrows on behalf of the Hexicans. And you've handled a lot of interviews with more grace than I probably would have.
I've slaughtered everyone that stepped.
Yes, you have. There is a trail of dead bodies. They're floating down the river.
People are scared. They won't even, they're terrified. They won't step.
And then down the bottom, the question is, it says, is everyone scared to debate Richard Hart? That's the question. So the answer to that question is no. I know for a fact the answer to that question is no. Not everyone is scared to debate Richard Hart. I'm scared as fuck. I would never fucking do it, dude. I'd never fucking do that shit. But this fucking savage over here is actively seeking to do it.
Do you know why I'm not scared?
Because
my shit's legit as fuck. Like, my shit's so legit. Like, my shit is legit as fuck. So I'm not scared because I know the same reason why Richard's got so much confidence, where he says, I'm just speaking truth. So that's why, I learned that confidence from him, because he's like, when you're speaking truth, you win arguments because you wreck everyone because you've got the truth on your side. And that always, as long as you're able to present it correctly and say, so when he says, if you have two smart people and you explain your data and then how you logically arrived at your conclusion, then you should come to the same conclusion. And if not, someone's lying. With my shit, it's like, I'm like, well, once I lay this down for him, he's either going to change my mind by convincing me by bringing in data that I didn't think of, or agree with me, or he'll be lying. So, or in my opinion, like, continuing to lie. So the reason I'm confident is because I know my shit is like airtight, and I'm only bringing points and items that I disagree with that are legit. I literally have, it's a short list of things where I'm like, these are the things that we need to correct. I'm not going at him trying to act like everything he says is bullshit. Only these specific items. No,
you're for you, it's an intellectual thing. It's like you want to have that discussion, you want to have that debate. And I agree with this kind of, like, it'd be great entertainment, but not so much for
I think people would love it.
But
like, I watched this most recent stream.
I don't think it's relevant whether it onboards people or not. Like some things you do just for the intellectual pursuit. And I'm intrigued, like, to be honest with you, I'm intrigued because I try and shit on Bitcoin in front of Tangent as much as I can, just to like, I think you've brought that out of me. You've brought that out of me because you've asked me to do that. So now I just, every time around Tangent, I try and shit on Bitcoin as much as I can. But I would actually like to see, like, because I don't know your arguments. I really don't know what you've got.
Not all of them. Some.
I know, like,
and some of them I've leaked on other streams where sometimes I've made a calculated decision that not that detrimental to my strategy for Richard to potentially be aware of some of my points. And so if they've been relevant to things that people have been talking about on streams, and that I've come under fire on something, I've had to step up. I have to make a decision, obviously, whether to release stuff. And sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't.
Did you reply to that YouTube clip, that YouTube short?
Not directly. Like I retweeted it. And
why don't you reply to that? Do that, bro. Do that fucking right now. You should go to that YouTube short and write in like, and they put a question out on that.
True. Good
you should reply saying, "Yo, I'm trying to debate Richard. I'm a Bitcoin OG and a hex holder. Why the fuck can't I? Like, why the fuck hasn't this happened yet?" Or some shit like that. Hey,
yeah, the only reason I didn't do it is because I was on my phone and it wasn't logged in as Tangent. I was logged in under a different Google account, so I didn't want to reply and then be like, "Who the fuck's this guy?" So, and then I just didn't have time to go and do it on another device, or couldn't be fuck switching accounts or whatever. So yeah, I will reply I will literally reply to this right now. Like I will literally reply to this right now, and then I'll need to get to my criticism. So, what do you think I should put? I'm not scared.
I'm not scared. I'm a Bitcoin OG. Debate me.
Well, I don't know. I'm a Bitcoin OG. Maybe sounds a little bit like.
No, just so that they take you seriously.
Flexy. Okay, fair enough.
Never be friends with OG43.
But do they think that you're leading me into the slaughter?
I think so. I think that's you guys don't understand. I have pleaded, maybe not pleaded, but I have strongly.
You and Jexa and Bluey have expressed your concern and sort of expressed why you think, like, you've indicated to me, you've conveyed why you think this is a terrible idea, and I have taken that under consideration.
Yeah, you're a grown-ass man.
Still want to do it.
You're a grown-ass man who has decided what you want to do, and
so you know what's interesting, right?
For the people in the chat, I only have I'm only like, yeah, fucking do it, because I know how much like he's prepared for it, and I know he really believes in, like, it really is not. I spent
a month preparing for this debate without him ever agreeing to do it. That's how committed I am to this thing. Like,
yeah.
And that's why I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make this debate happen, because I'm not wasting a month of my life. Not that I was doing it full time, but I would work on it at least partially every day, like researching shit, making sure that my arguments are airtight, writing, rewriting, going in. Like a team of people have helped me with this. Like, I think it's been a serious effort. Like it's not some half-ass shit.
So what everyone what the guys in the chat are getting is that, like, I'm egging you on. At this point,
no, but I was already committed. I was already mentally committed.
No, but at this
I'm already so committed.
I am egging him on because I
want to do it anyway. Yeah,
I did my best to convince him not to do it. Like, I did my best, right? For
Can't confirm.
Many green room sessions that I've said, bro, I really don't think, like, dude.
Do you know my favorite one was, like, it was one of the early ones where you guys were trying to convince me not to do it. And Jexa hadn't really said very much. It had been mainly me and you talking and me telling you why I want to do it and you saying, like, not to do it. And I just saw the look on Jexa's face on the screen and I was like, Jexa, I want your opinion, man. I think by the look on your face, you think this is a terrible idea, don't you? I could just see the look on his face. He was just like,
Dude, my favorite was like, my favorite was like, at the end of a stream, I usually tell everyone, hey guys, what are your last words and then you, for your last words at the end of the stream, the late show, you just went into a thing of like, hey, Richard Hart, I want to like do this debate, and then I said,
Yeah,
I didn't actually mean the last words of like, as in, you know,
like death.
RIP, last words.
Yeah.
It was better at the end of that stream. Like I just butchered it then.
I didn't want to even throw the challenge out publicly until I was like 90% prepared, in case he was like, yep, let's go, let's do this right now, and then me miss the opportunity because of me saying like, oh dude, I need more time to get ready, and then him be like, fuck you. Like, do you know what I mean? Like I wanted to make sure that I was basically ready to go, so that if he said it's now or never, that I would be like 90% ready and be able to just freestyle the other 10%. So,
and you want this debate to be after Pulse launch.
There's two reasons why I said that. Is one, I don't want people to think that this caused any delays in Pulse's launch, even though Richard said he's run out of stuff that he can do. It's all in the hands of devs. It's outside of his technical capability now. So nothing that he does now is actually going to cause or not cause delays. But even so, there's always a subset of the community that either didn't see him say that or whatever, or just idiots that will just be like, oh, this caused a delay, or why are you wasting your time with this when Pulse hasn't even launched yet? So accusations at him or me or both of us. So I was like, for that reason. But also the other reason why I was going to wait is I actively want him to know that I'm not trying to like clout chase or any shit like that. So I was going to say, we'll wait till the highest of stakes is also out. So then he knows I'm not trying to like, get into the documentary or any shit like that. Like this is purely legit wanting to debate this. It's not about any kind of like clout chasing or fucking any other shit. And then was there another reason why waiting for Pulse to launch? Oh, the other reason was like, while the hex price is like depressed, I was thinking I would rather the hex price be up, so that, because my opinion on price, right? It's irrelevant as to whether something is legit or not. So I would prefer hex price to be up and Bitcoin price to be down when the debate happens, so that that's on his side. I don't want that easy argument, because I think it's a bullshit argument anyway. So I'm happy for him to have the easy win of my coin is crushing your coin. You get what I'm saying? So I thought if we waited until Pulse launched, a lot of people think that the Pulse launch is going to have the hex price skyrocketing. And then, so if we waited for Pulse launch, there'd be maybe a better chance that he would be more confident in the debate or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that it. So and sorry. I've just also, so that it doesn't sound like I'm a disgruntled hexagon that's just upset about the price being down, and that I've always been pro hex, and then suddenly I'm like trying to attack him and being like, why is this guy like, is he just upset that the price is down? So to basically eradicate any of the things that I thought of could be leveled at me as accusations, I thought it would just be better for this debate to occur after Pulse launch, hex price back up, and after the highest of stakes is out. And anything else that anyone else can think of that would prove my legitimate desire for why I want this debate to occur, people can throw suggestions in and be like, hey, this would help in proving your cause or convincing Richard to do it, or anything like that. Anything that you guys would think would help or would make it sound, or like make my ability to prove how legit this is, I'm all ears.
Yep. I'm going to make some people moderators.
Oh yeah, because this is a new channel, isn't it? So you don't have the same mods.
No.
Oh, so something I wanted to say about this stream. How do I stop these shorts? Something I wanted to say about this, right? So this is only like a running theory of mine. I'm not saying it's necessarily accurate, but I noticed that ever since I've been throwing this debate challenge out, Richard has not done any, like, none of this stuff about like, I crush everyone that fucking steps to me. He hasn't done any of that shit. He hasn't thrown out any challenges of any Bitcoiner that wants to step up. That shit has been radio silence ever since I have thrown up my hand to debate him. And this particular one, because it came from Discourse Syndicate and Kinetics, he might not have even been aware that this was going to come up, because this was obviously filmed for the movie. So this content is old, right? Like this chat that they had. I think I remember roughly around the time that they had it. It was quite a while ago when, you know, when Kinetics had this sit down with Richard, because I think parts of it leaked at the time.
That was, do you know when that was? That was right around when they had the London meetup.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that was November. That was like the 2-year anniversary. So it would have been the November, January 2021, like the end of November, early December, I should say. So
my theory of Richard won't throw out generic anyone's allowed to step up and try and take me on is not stopped, is not debunked by this video coming out, because it's possible that because the recording was old and it's being released by someone that's not him, that my theory could still be intact, that he's not willing to throw out a generic anyone's allowed to debate me, which he has done in the past multiple times, but he hasn't since I've said that I'm ready to go. So it's just a theory. I'm not saying, you know, I'm not a mind reader, but we'll see.
Bro, I don't think honestly, I do not think he's scared to debate you. I don't think it's just not really probably on his radar. I don't think he's scared to debate you.
I find it difficult to believe that he hasn't seen a single one of my challenge tweets that have been like,
it's just probably
that have been retweeted by people that are like close to him, like people that he, you know, people that are within his, like, I don't want to say inner circle, because that sounds too like cliquey and like, but you know how there are hexagons that are OG hexagons that he is like in contact with more often than other hexagons. He's not giving them preferential treatment. He's just known them longer. They're, you know, they've had more interactions and shit like that. My challenge has been retweeted by people like that. He's definitely seen it, bro. Like he's definitely seen
it. But this is my thoughts are like getting like someone pushing for a debate with him who's from the community, who isn't bringing a whole bunch of like new viewers to the debate, to Hex.
Yeah.
For him, from his perspective, he'd be like, maybe when I get around to it, but he's probably got like a list of important things that he feels he needs to do.
But my point is he could say that. He could just reply to one of those tweets and say, hey man, I'm too busy right now, but we can do it later. Or you don't have enough followers. Or like he could give me some criteria that I could work towards to make it happen. But by staying silent, he keeps his options open for the excuses that he could potentially use later to not do it. Do you see what I'm saying? So because otherwise he corners himself. If he says I don't have enough followers, then I can go and get followers. Like, and eventually, like with time, potentially I can come back and be like, dude, I've satisfied the criteria that you set for me. Now let's fucking go. So I think the silence is deliberate. That's my, and again, this is just a working theory.
Yeah.
So I'm not a mind reader. I don't have any, no one has said any inside word or any shit.
I feel like once Pulse launches, there's like less reason to not just go, fuck it. Let's just do it and get it out of the way. Let's just do this.
Keen. Let's hope. Let's hope. Fingers crossed he's down.
Have you criticized him yet?
No. So let's do that because it's important, right? This is something that actually does concern me quite a bit with the stream that he just did. So apart from the general stuff where he was trashing on Bitcoin a bit towards the start of the stream, and what can with that, it's just that when he sometimes says something about Bitcoin that's maybe like partially legit or there's some truth to it, and then he just says Bitcoin is complete trash, but there's like assumptions and leaps of faith involved in that sort of stuff, and so I'm like, well, that's not great, but the thing that concerned me more than that, because obviously I've voiced concern over that sort of stuff before in terms of when he's shit talking Bitcoin sort of unnecessarily, is in the stream he mentioned that NFTs are garbage, they're complete shit, and sort of said something along the lines of that because the guy was like, you know, you can make a lot of money on NFTs or whatever. And he's like, yeah, but do you feel good about yourself knowing that you made money, but the guy that you sold it to is fucking wrecked? And so he was basically giving all the reasons why, like some of the big reasons why NFTs are shit. And we all agree with him. This like, there's no dispute about that. But then like 5 minutes later, he was like, I'm going to do NFTs. I'm going to start with an NFT of this diamond thing. And then I'm going to dilute the shit out of everyone's NFTs on PulseChain by releasing my own NFTs. And the thing that concerns me about that is it just sounds inconsistent with, I think ethically, if you believe that something is bad for the crypto ecosystem, you shouldn't be involving yourself with it at all. It should be hard stance. That shit is nonsense. I won't participate in it. I won't promote it. I won't give it oxygen. I recommend that everyone stays away from it so we can move on as a community, being the broader crypto community, and get back on the correct track of like the actual crypto assets that matter. No distractions. See what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, it's reasonable, I guess. But I mean, look, it was just a few words in the stream though. So you can't take, he might have just been like, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
You don't know how serious, you don't know how serious he is about pursuing that.
Yeah.
It might be completely serious. But I guess the point is a few words in the stream. Think about all the shit that we say in streams.
Yes.
Like seriously.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
And I would hate for people to be like taking me.
Yeah. Run off with one sentence and start.
And then
drawing conclusions and that sort of thing.
And then once again, it comes back to that, like you like watching his streams with a red fucking pen, like, and if that's the way you're watching his streams, because when you mentioned that to me before, like in the green room before, I was like, I don't even fucking remember him talking about NFTs in that stream, just because it wasn't really something that, on my radar.
Yeah.
But like you're actively listening for something to like,
anything that
grab onto.
My concern is that because he commands so much respect within the Hex community, is that anything that he even sort of indirectly lends credibility to, people will be more likely to respect it. So that even if he,
would you feel okay about it if it was backed by a HSI?
If it was a legitimate financial NFT, I'd be much more okay with it. But the ones he's talking about are art NFTs. Like the one of his diamond is just going to be like,
yeah, because you can put like.
I will admit,
if you could.
Sorry, I will admit that he did say that he was thinking about trying to do NFTs better or something, like trying to include something in it that makes better. But I think the risk is too high, man. Like,
dude,
if
financial NFTs are fucking awesome. Like, I love the idea of them. I really, really do. I love the NFTs. Are only like, in my opinion, only really shit if it's just like, if it's only like the art. And when I say they're shit, there can be good art, right? But just the arguments about it not, like, most of it's hosted on a server somewhere else. So you're just getting you're getting a string of numbers, a serial number, really. Now, an argument could be made for if there's actual data on the blockchain that is artwork. You could make an argument. Well, that's a better form of an NFT, but you need a lot of money to mint that sort of NFT, and you need big blocks, and so you need a different blockchain. You can't do it on Ethereum.
I guess based on what we've both said, I think it comes down to an importance for accuracy of language, where, because I agree with you that there's a lot of uncertainty around that statement, but I think then he should be clear about what he is and isn't going to do, and maybe don't mention it until he's refined that, because even him just making a statement like that, like, I'm going to do my own NFT project, which is starting off with this diamond one or whatever like that, could potentially lend credibility to something that he has been steadfast against. So he's always said they're garbage.
No, but he's
Unless
been
you're-
steadfast against JPEGs. What if his iteration incorporates something like HSIs, where it's a token? It can be a token, an NFT, which is a tokenized hex stake, and let's say the diamond, you know.
But when he says I'm going to dilute the shit out of them, then it sounds like it's going to be similar shit, right? You can't dilute something with something that's different. If his shit was like a completely different thing that was like a financial NFT that was backed by HSIs or whatever, then it's not a dilution because it's actually a better product. So
I think we have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
A few words.
I think time will tell. But I'm stating now that I really hope that when we do wait, that it doesn't end up being him doing freaking JPEG NFTs with this attitude of like, well, if people are going to be scammed anyway, then the money might as well be going towards me, because I think that's the wrong attitude. I think ethically, you need to just like if you don't believe in the government, you shouldn't vote. Like if you should not. You're like, someone's participation is an indirect like, what's the word?
Validation of
validation of that system. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, this is actually a good comment that you've brought up from Dozer, that the trash talking of Bitcoin that I get so upset about, that where it's inaccurate, could actually also be a strategy to get engagement.
I think it's most definitely a strategy.
That's actually a really good point. That possibly in hope that a Bitcoin maxi that's like more famous than me would step up and be like, this guy is talking so much nonsense. I feel it's my duty to go, like moral duty, to get on stream with him and correct this shit. And then he gets the stream. But in my opinion, ethically, that would not be okay. You shouldn't lie to try to get some kind of thing that you believe is a positive. You know what I mean? It's like, you shouldn't do something unethical for a good reason. No, it's not. Not in my opinion. You should never do something unethical for a good reason. That doesn't fly. That doesn't fly with me. Like you always have to be ethical.
To me,
because that's the greater good theory, right? It's like, we're going to kill this person, or we're going to do this thing that's like heinous, but there's this reason behind, like that is for the greater good. And so much evil is done with the like greater good theory shit, that I think that is a failed ethical maneuver. But it's still possible. It's still possible.
This is murky waters, bro. This is murky waters. In my mind, it's murky waters, because there are things that, for like, as a parent, like to me, it comes back to, like, I'm always thinking of the things that I would do, like for my kids, and there's fucking nothing I wouldn't do, you know? Do you know what I mean? Like,
are you saying Hex is his baby?
Hex is most definitely his baby, bro. Most definitely. More so than PulseChain. PulseChain is just a copy of some other, and he's making it better. He's tweaking it, making it better. Hex is most definitely Richard Hard's baby. Most definitely.
See,
he loves that shit.
It's like, I love how certain you are of that, and I agree with you, and I think most hexagons would. And one of the questions I have for Richard is like, hey Richard, do you think in a situation like this you could be you would be biased, seeing as it's like your coin? And we're gonna, if he says no, then we're gonna know he's lying. Like, as in, it's clear that he has a bias. So it kind of puts him in a position where he can't win an answer for that question, because if he says yes, I'm biased, then he's admitting a bias that then you see that everything he says.
No, but he could answer that, say, no, I'm not biased. I just see it for what it is, which is the best shit.
Then he'd be lying. Like, he'd be lying to himself.
But is that a lie? Is that a lie?
Well,
why is it a lie? If you
I mean, like, if he genuinely believes that, then it's not a lie, but it would be It'd be factually inaccurate, but it would still be not a lie. Not a lie, but it would be incorrect. Because in my opinion, no, just that he's not biased. If he claims he's not biased. So I guess in my opinion, a lie has to be a deliberate intent to deceive. So if he genuinely believes that he is not biased and he says, I'm not biased, then obviously we can't read his mind. But if he genuinely believes that, then he's not lying, but it just means he's incorrect. Like, it just means that he's wrong.
Yeah. Dude, just getting back to that ethical thing about, like, I mean, it's very difficult to have that stance, I think, for me personally, just because do you, like, for example, think it
would be okay for him to lie about Bitcoin?
No. I'm talking in general, having the, like, for example, Tangent, know that there are kids, right,
that still believe in Santa Claus.
Yes.
Because their parents fucking lied to them. No.
Bro,
sorry.
Dude,
I didn't mean to cut you off.
You should see the charade that we do every Christmas. We've got this fucking puppet, not even a puppet, like this little guy called Elf on the Shelf.
I've heard of this thing.
And yeah, dude, do you know what we do? Like, Elf on the Shelf is this little, like, fucking elf, like Santa Claus's elf, that flies back to Santa and he's a fucking snitch, dude. Elf on the Shelf is a fucking snitch, because what he does is he sits here and dude, and he just sits there and just, like, he just checks out your kids, right, and makes sure that your kids are, like, behaving. And if they don't behave, he goes back to Santa and tells Santa all the shit, and then Santa doesn't, like, so that Santa, like, always ends up giving them presents anyway, but the kids are, like, incentivized to, like, behave. And so, yeah.
I cut you off, though. You said there are people in this world.
There are kids. No, I was talking about the kids so that there are kids in Africa who are doing adult work for little or no wages, like to mine the raw materials that we need in our computers and tech, right? So ethically, you should then have a problem with any tech that you use for that very reason, that it's not ethically sound to be okay with. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you can. That's why it's a murky water to have such hardline ethic. Like, not that you shouldn't be ethical. You got to be ethical within the realm that you can control, right, to a reasonable extent. But you can't extend it to the entire world. In my opinion, you can't extend it to the entire world, because you can only affect change in your immediate world. And I think that's as far as your ethical considerations should really go. They can go further if you want them to, which is good. But if you just say, but
that is within his local realm. That is within his control to not lie. Yeah. Like, as in, so I don't want to sound defensive, but the mining one I actually only found out recently from, like, a meme that child labor was used in mines. But I will admit that in terms of, like, China factories with, like, Nikes and shit like that, I'd heard that stuff even when I was very young, like school age teenager, that this whole idea of sweatshops and, like, Nikes being, like, sewn together by, like, children or whatever. And you are right that when you purchase something, you are voting with your dollars. And if you're aware that company does unethical shit, I think Amazon's a good recent example. One of my friends was horrified to know that I order stuff off Amazon, because they're like, you're supporting this mega corporation. So that in itself is a problem, and because it's just so monopolistic. But also the fact that they have their, like, shit working conditions for their workers and stuff like that, allegedly, by the way. And so you're right that, like,
but the reason I made that point is that, okay, if you have a problem if someone was to have a problem with that, the child working, how can I justify like buying this tech, you know, which is basically, you know, keeping that child in that situation, right? Now you could make the argument that, well, you know, and someone's made it in the chat, which is, you know, I think a good argument, is that those kids need to eat as well. But at the same time, you know, are they being exploited? You know, so if you say, okay, well, I'm going to make it my mission to use this tech, right? I'm using this tech, but I'm going to make it my mission to try and better, you know, the lives of these people in this country that are doing this mining, going there, starting up a company, building infrastructure, giving them better options. Then you could argue that, okay, ethically, it's okay for me to use this tech, even though they're in this like shitty work, they're like experiencing shitty work conditions, because ultimately the greater good, you know, there's going to be a greater good from it. So that was just like, and just before, it's just when you said like ethically it's just black and white, and for me it's like, there are some things that are like a bit gray, man. There's like some things that, like, for me, they're just like gray areas that you can argue both sides, and then you just like,
I wouldn't say,
you know what I mean?
I certainly wouldn't say that the justification that I'm going to then use, so the thing that I've bought that has an unethical element to it, that I'm going to use that to try and do good things for the people or communities that it effed up in the first place. I wouldn't consider that to be a reasonable justification of, so
ultimately you would just have to not use, like, because wouldn't you say that that's better than just using the tech and then not doing anything?
Yeah, it would be hard with technology because because what's the word? What's the word for like being able to trace? Is it covenants, or like there's a word for like being able to basically trace the path that something has taken, right? So it's impossible to know when you buy a tech product whether the gold inside that product was mined here in WA, where everything's like legit, it's all adult, safe conditions, etc., or whether it was mined in some country that is like blood diamonds and people dying, like, as in, well, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, so some of these things, so I will admit, like, most people just turn a blind eye to it and be like, well, that's too hard to work it out. And everyone else is doing it. I think we're all guilty. Like, I think everyone is
we
guilty.
all do that. We're all guilty. Yeah.
I think
And
every human
that
is
was
guilty.
my point before about, yeah, but that was my point about like the ethical, hardline ethical, like we're all fucking guilty.
Yeah.
You know, we can't, no one can stand on some sort of ethical pillar. You know, we're actually, you know, if most of us,
you know,
even if we're not having, like, even if we're not in the best of situations, most of us are so much luckier than any of these people, just because of like when we were born and where we were born, what we were born into. Even if we're having a tough time of it, it's probably better than, you know, digging holes in the ground from the age of 5.
This reminds me of something that Jordan Peterson said, where he said, when people start to talk about privilege and start to like attack people based on privilege, it's relative. So you can, for anyone, anywhere, you can always go and find someone that's more or less fortunate than them. So unless you literally were, you know, born in a third world country and like left on the side of the road or some shit, like, as in, he's like, you unless it's like the most extreme example, and that's the point, right? Like, you could always find someone that's even worse off. So this idea of privilege then breaks down as you start to look at it as a relative thing. So this is kind of,
for me, it's more about like, it's about like acknowledging it and being grateful. Like we should all be like super, super grateful.
Yes.
And it's not to, you know, make anyone feel bad about any of it, but we should be grateful and acknowledge that Yeah, we're the lucky ones. We are super, super lucky.
Everything that you've said are legit considerations, but I stand by my hardline stance that publicizing a lie about Bitcoin is not acceptable ethically, even if you have good intentions. That is fully within your control and can have implications that are so. Yeah, I think that one's clean. I think that one's clear cut. Like as in, that to me is
that's fair, man. I wanted to push back on you. I wanted to push back.
Yep.
You did this.
Look, I've been watching reruns. I've been watching reruns of a show called 24. It's one of my favorite shows, right? And as I watch it, you notice that they create these ethical dilemmas that are like these impossible situations. It's like the whole like one person dying over like tens of thousands. They do that one a lot, but other ethical dilemmas as well come up a lot. And so I'm not saying that it's always this clear cut. There certainly are certainly situations in this world where it is not. It would take a lot more discussion. But in my opinion, this particular one, lying about Bitcoin, is not one of those ones that is difficult to come to a conclusion on. And another thing that Jordan Peterson says is like, you don't know the implications of the things that you're doing. So you know, I always say that every human is a god, but in this situation, I'll say you're not a god in terms of being able to tell the future. So you don't know. So if you think you're doing something unethical with good intentions, you don't know what the flow-on effects are. So all you can ever do is just tell the truth and hope that good will come from that.
Someone's asking, what did RH lie about?
Oh, I mean, I've got a list, but it's my debate. Like, as in, like, if I was to list these things off, then there's no surprise in what I'm saying.
By the way, I want to make it clear that these are not my words at all. Like, you know, this is tangent. I'm sort of distancing myself from.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Element of it, you know?
Yeah, J43 doesn't agree with me on this stuff necessarily, and also doesn't know all of my points. Some of my material I have kept secret. But for anyone who's seen me on other streams, some of these things have come out. Like some of these aspects. I mean, there's I'll give you some broad examples. Is like Bitcoin energy FUD. That shit's ridiculous. I want to clear that up with him. So, and there's multiple sub items within that category. ASIC centralization. There's just numerous things that Richard has said about Bitcoin that are not true, that I want to clear up with him. So yeah, there's a medium-sized list or whatever of things that I want to clear up, and I've admitted the whole way along that some of them he might be able to educate me or whatever and change my opinion. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he might be like, oh, but you haven't thought about this. And I might be like, oh, that's a good point. So
yeah, man.
But we won't find out unless we get on a stream and do that shit for real, you know?
Yeah. I think it will happen at one day.
I hope. I'm confident. I'm quietly confident that it can come, that it can happen.
Meanwhile, you have access to like all of his words that he's ever spoken.
I know,
on
right?
live stream. You have
that does like, give me a bit of an unfair advantage, right? Like, as in,
it gives you such an advantage in theory that if you don't crush Richard Hart, like if you don't absolutely crush him, it's like, bro, like, how could you not have crushed him? You had all the information.
No. I'm definitely the underdog, man. I'm definitely the underdog. What? No one.
I agree. No, but seriously, under what, like, if you think about it, under what circumstances does an opponent have access to or literally every single word he's ever said on live stream, and it's searchable? You know?
Yes.
Like, and he probably doesn't have the same unless he wants to go through all yours.
You know,
which half of yours get deleted anyway.
To mention Jordan Peterson again, when he comes under attacks, he actually says, I've got hours and hours, like thousands of hours of lectures that have been recorded, and of all the people who like hate me and like want to try and like take me down, have all these accusations that I'm a misogynist or like racist or whatever he gets, transphobe, like whatever he gets accused of falsely. He said, not a single person has ever been able to go and find a quote from me that when looked at within context to show that I've said anything wrong ever in thousands of hours of talking. And it's because he's precise with his language. So I would put Richard in a similar category, that like, because he's intelligent and speaks accurately and that sort of thing, there wouldn't be much. And that's why it's disappointing when there are items that I can point to and be like, that's fucking nonsense. Oh, the other one he said today again, which is just like, makes me want to tear what limited hair I have out every time I hear him say it, is this one about how Bitcoin's at the end of its adoption S-curve. I'm like, bro, that is nonsense. That is fucking nonsense. Bitcoin at the end of its adoption S-curve. I'm like, bruh. That's one of the main things I want to like completely, like that is just ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
I know he said
that
it.
is ridiculous.
I've heard him say is it adoption S-curve?
Yes, he says Bitcoin is at the end of its adoption S-curve. And the thing he always points to is like the richest man in the world already bought in. And I'm just like, what? Like that doesn't mean shit. It's just one dude. It's like one dude within the 2% of people who have bought in. Like it's not at the end of its adoption S-curve, like not even close. It's at the start. So that's a framing error. Like that's a hardcore framing error.
Yeah.
Silence. What else?
I'm thinking because I'm thinking about I'm trying to think through, because like how many Bitcoin have been minted? 19 mil?
I knew this recently. Yeah, I think that's right.
19 mil.
I think somewhere around the 19 mil.
So technically.
No. But the emission is not adoption. Emission and adoption are not the same.
Oh, so you're saying how many individuals hold
adoption? Yeah. Well, I mean, like obviously there's various metrics of how you can measure adoption. You could try to look at like active addresses with some sort of overlay for trying to like chain analysis of trying to assess how many are like addresses are owned by the same person or whatever like that. There's different metrics for trying to assess adoption. How many people hold it, or basically how many network participants really, how many people are actually interacting with the network compared to how many people will eventually interact with the network, right?
Have you looked at charts and data on
I mean, I didn't have
point, or is this just an anecdotal feeling, like from your perspective, that you believe it's not yet
the first one with like nearly zero effort, because the Bitcoin Miami conference, the 2022 Miami Bitcoin conference that just passed, there were literal speeches by like elite Bitcoiners who went through this shit. So I just like went snap and just like stole their shit, stole their slides, stole their charts, stole their words, paraphrased them obviously, and added that into my script. So like watching all the speeches from that Bitcoin Miami conference really improved my like I already had those points in my mind, but it really helped to like solidify those arguments.
Yeah.
But we can talk about something other than this debate. I know I get really excited about it, but
yeah. Hex is at 3.4.
Is it pumping right now?
I don't know if it's pumping. It's at
dude,
30, Or...
It's actually absolute. I'll share my
man,
screen.
do you mind if I need to go to the loo for a second?
Yeah.
Like,
Let's wait. Share the screen before you go so that I can. What the shit? Why is that not? Oh yeah. Oh, how'd you do that? All right. Cool. All right. I know you guys are probably sick of hearing how excited I am to debate Richard. So let's talk about Hex. Let's talk about the price. This is good. So this is what I was just talking about before, about this attempt to break out. And look at it. It's just absolutely fluffing that line. So this downtrend line that's coming through here is just absolutely fluffing the shit out of it. So we're technically still within that formation. So I would say within the next, what are these? These are hourly candles. So within the next probably like 3 or 4 hours, one of these trend lines has to break. And my vibe is up. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Hex moon boy. I also think up. I think up. And I genuinely think up. I think the vibe is up. And, you know, my vibe checks about the Hex price have only been wrong every time I've said up in the last 8 months. So I'm just kidding. So remembering that within the context that we're still in epic downtrend shit going on. If we go to something like a daily or a weekly chart, you'll see that. So notice how when I was saying that this was the sort of the downtrend that you could see in that last chart, and then even if we break that and go all the way up to like 13 or 14 cents, there's still this macro downtrend to get through as well. So this is one of those things where if you wait for all the confirmation to occur for you to be fully bullish, I mean, theoretically that should never come, but like to be like 90, 95% bullish, then you've missed the majority of the actual gains. So sometimes you have to sort of take a calculated risk and enter in at a level that you think is reasonable, and then just have a stop loss or have a forward-looking component of your investment thesis where you're like, I'm going to enter here, and if it goes down by this much, then I'll exit back out again. So I think this zone that I drew, this green box, is a reasonable zone to be attempting to go long on Hex. And then if that breaks down, you'd get out and try and get back in at just above 2 cents, or like 2.2 cents or something like that, if you were even trading it. So yeah, cool. We'll go back to the 4 hour. But yeah, it's always good to zoom out, because you see this shit and you think, yeah, we're breaking out of these downtrends, and then you see that overall we're not even close to that macro downtrend. We could actually go all the way up. What was it? 14 to almost 14 cents and still get slapped down. Just get absolutely dick slapped by that downward sloping trend line. Welcome back, day 43. But this is exciting. I like the price of Hex like showing strength and going up. In fact, for context, we should probably look at what ETH and Bitcoin are doing, because I think I saw ETH on a pump earlier. That was obviously that 7 candle there. Now it's going back down. What's Bitcoin doing? I mean, Bitcoin's over 20K again.
What do you think? Because like we spoke about this a while back. You were sure that Bitcoin wasn't going to go like you didn't even think it was going to go further down than mid-20s.
I didn't think it was going to go I didn't think it was going to go below the previous all-time high, which is like just under 20 grand.
Yeah,
I think it actually did do that. But remember that I did say, I said, I don't think it's going to go below the previous all-time high, but if it does, it would be like a wick, which in the context of this, if you were to look at a higher time frame candle, say weekly, that was on the weekly chart, that was actually only a wick. Because this green line that you're looking at here, this horizontal green line, is the previous all-time high. That's why that line is there. So we haven't closed. closed any weeks below that level. Have we closed a day? There was a day that technically closed, a daily candle that closed below that level. But look, that the next candle was like a bullish engulfing candle. So I don't think this would count. I think if we're looking back on this in like months or years to come, I don't think you would count this as like a break of that theory that we don't tend to go below previous all-time highs. I think this is an acceptable sort of quick anomaly. Do you know what I mean? But I could be proven wrong.
You don't reckon? Because I actually think
I'm still hopeful. I'm still hopeful that I think if macro holds up, like broader scale macro, if there's no more, and also, so the two things are no more of this nonsense where multi-billion-dollar crypto projects with contagion risk get fucked. If there's no more of that, and the global macroeconomics holds, I'm not saying it has to start doing well, just doesn't do any crazy shit, like no like conflict escalation, no like really hardcore, monetary policy shit going on, or like, so as long as things stay sort of like reasonably steady in those two aspects, I expect that level to hold. Previous all-time high.
Yep. I've got a feeling we're going lower, bro. I feel like we haven't had max pain.
Most people in the Hex community agree with you.
Yep.
You don't think
we've had, dude,
you don't think we've had max pain? Cunts have been committing suicide. People have literally been ending their lives. Like you don't think that's max
pretty
pain?
Fucking bad. That's pretty fucking bad.
To me, that's max pain. Like to me, that's getting there. Like that's.
But we just haven't been. We were at like 30 and 40 grand like a few weeks ago. It's like it doesn't feel like we've like. It's not just about.
But
we've come down to here and now we're going back up. To me, like the bear market needs to be like people are like, fuck. When is this bear market going to be over?
I think most
people need to like suffer for a bit.
I think most people are, man. I think
people to suffer, but it's like it's almost like that last one that I sat through was fucking hard, bro. That was a tough one. The last one.
Do you mean 2017, 18, like 2018?
2018.
2018.
Yeah.
So I think if you look at people who aren't Hex OGs, then I think there's a lot of pain out there. I think we have been, by being in Hex early, I think our portfolios have been largely shielded from the carnage, even with Hex on this, like, what is it now? It's ludicrous, like 93% dip. If you got into Hex early enough, then it's not
you're still between 100 and 500x up.
Yeah. So I think anyone who wasn't in Hex early or some sort of similar product. So I would say the only people who are still sort of like that are not in that exact mindset that you're saying of this, like, fuck, this was a terrible idea getting into crypto, are like scammy influencers who have got like ref links and harvest their follower base for financial gain. Coin founders who basically printed their own money so that even when the shit goes like negative 90%, it doesn't matter because they just printed it out of thin air anyway, like Celsius and other various projects. People who got very, very, very lucky and happened to get in early on a project that did mad gains, like maybe like some early Link people or early Hexicans, early Bitcoiners, early Ethereum holders, and maybe people who were fortunate enough to get out at the top, either accidentally or deliberately. I think everyone else in crypto, and there might be some other exceptions that I'm not thinking of. I think everyone else in crypto is fucking going through mad pain.
There's a couple of comments here in the chat that it's, even if you weren't in super, super early, if you were staked and you got the payday bonus.
That's early though,
That
right?
definitely.
That was a year.
Well-
that was a year in, and Hex is 2.5 years old. So that's like,
Yeah,
that's
that's
still,
true. That
that's
is
still
early.
reasonably
That is
early. Yeah.
But even if you staked, and I get this goes to the point of like Hex. Hex is like, sure, you can buy it, you can trade it, but the whole point ultimately is to hold it, not just hold it, but stake it and earn more of it. That's the whole point of it. So
I'm
you
trying to
can
think of why that
offset-
doesn't give me comfort about the price going down. Like that doesn't give me comfort about the price going down, but I'm trying to work out why in my mind as to why. Oh, it's for me that the broken narrative of Hex being bear market proof and being resistant to downside sell pressure. Like I still concern myself with that narrative, even if you're 100% staked, you would want that narrative to be intact. And the chart doesn't look
what
great.
it does. I think the narrative, and I was talking about that. I thought that could be what happened and how it played out. We've seen what's happened. It didn't play out like that. So I was wrong on that point.
Same.
But I thought that maybe, so I thought maybe we weren't going to see such a savage like drop in price. But
the problem for me is
what being hard stake does, it means that you can't. I mean, you can definitely EES and fuck yourself over, but you know that you're fucking yourself over if you EES. If you emergency end stake, you are like, you know what you're doing. Well, you should know what you're doing, because there's a big thing that says don't do this shit because the consequences are extreme.
So
I think that go on.
My problem is that several things that Richard shat on other coins for are now people are able to point to those things and say, dude, like you shat on other projects for this, and this, and this, and your project's no fucking better. Like when he was saying some altcoin charts, their chart is just death forever. Now our chart looks like that. When he said,
no, it
that,
doesn't. No, come on, dude. No,
oh,
dude,
bro,
it's not death forever. Come on,
man. I'm not saying it's death forever. I'm saying I think it will recover, but it looks that way. Like, look. I've got the chart. I've got the chart up, man. Look at this shit. Like, so I'm not saying it will be death forever. I'm saying it looks like death forever. This is the chart pattern that he shat on other coins for having. It is.
No,
this is the chart that he shat on other coins for having. This is literally the chart that he shat on like BSV and like other coins for having this chart where it just goes down forever. Like that. Obviously, we don't know.
This is only a year, dude. It's only a year.
Dude, in crypto time, that's a fucking decade. Like, so look,
isn't there 4 years? Like, do you believe?
I don't really want to debate. I don't want to really debate this specific thing of whether our chart looks shit or not. I think it looks fucking terrible. I think it does look like exactly like the ones he terrible, but at the time.
In the context of but it's okay. I mean, if you're going to look at that side of the chart, like you need to look at the other side as well. Like take the equal amount of time on the other side of that peak, and then like just squeeze it. Can you squeeze it in?
Yeah.
So that we can see. Like if you take the equal amount of space on the other side, right?
But you have to you have to be concerned with people who have invested at various different times. Like so if there are people who bought in here or basically anywhere along this 6-month period. So it like I agree with you. It's unfair to do either. Like as in you can't ignore the previous gains and to bring them into context and give that credit. Like, but you also can't solely point to that as a reason to not be concerned about this and be like, no, it's fine that there's all these people that are fucking wrecked now because it did a 10,000x first. Like that doesn't like that's not enough. That's not enough of a fix.
So when I got into BTC 2017, I bought the top, like the top of this chart. And then do you know where we've had this recent like real slide in the last like month or two? This real slide in that's what happened in BTC as well. Like there was this trapdoor that we just dropped from 3K from it was, and this is more savage than that, but
I guess
the point is that like some people in the context of buying the top and the price going down, they get wrecked and they sell the bottom and they fuck themselves up. And then other people in the same situation will the price will keep going down and then do what I did, which was just kept buying at different points and dollar cost averaging on the way down because I didn't know when the bottom was going to be, right? And then when BTC was, and at that point I was like pretty much full maxi BTC, you know, because I'd seen everything else get wrecked. But the point is that, you know, if you've followed this all the way down from 56 cents, then you do like, just like I saw the value proposition at $3,000 for BTC at the time, I also see the value proposition here for Hex at 3 cents. Like and that's part of it's like a part of you gotta
let me
sort of
let me be clear.
Shit
let me be clear. Like as in I know that Hex is amazing and I expect the price to recover, but that's not my point. That's not my argument. All I'm saying is there's now becoming an increasing number of things that Richard has said in the past that has been directed at other coins. So another example is saying he was like, Ethereum and Bitcoin have both done X% dips. I think it was like 90% or 85 or something like that. And he was like, Hex has never done a dip that deep, so we're better. And then that comment is now broken, like as in because we have done a dip that is as deep. So I'm just saying, as these, I want our shit to be as airtight as possible in terms of the things that we can point to and the things that we can say against haters, etc. And so the more of these things that get broken, whether it's like how the chart looks, the amount of the dips, the fucking like whatever, like resistance to downside action in bear markets, etc. Performance against BTC.
The resistance is just for people selling the dump.
But so many people, cause of it is not relevant. It's whether it happens or not, and it's happened. Like as in, if you can point to an address and go, "This is the motherfucker that crashed the price," it's like that.
But the only thing that but the price being down is only a negative for you as a holder of Hex if you sell the bottom, right? It's only a negative for you.
No, because it breaks the narrative. So it's a negative for everyone who cares about Hex.
No, but if it breaks the narrative. If you hang on to it, right? But the narrative in crypto is that there's like wild volatility, right? So that's the narrative in crypto, full stop. So you've got to expect that there's going to be 90% drawdowns, 95. That happens in everything, man. It just doesn't happen in Bitcoin anymore, right? But it happens in Ethereum, happens in everything. So if you have something that can that will stop you from selling making the mistake that some people make, which is sell the bottom, buy the top and sell the bottom, so they are the losers, and they instead are forced to hang on to it, and then they get to see the next bull market where it does another 50x.
I agree that mechanism is also good to like protect people from themselves or from their emotions or whatever, but that's not relevant. I don't believe that's relevant to what I'm saying. Like,
but it's a feature that I guess Bitcoin has, because you can time lock your coins, but you're not earning any yield while that's happening. So that's like I just find that to be something about Hex that I think is really, really well designed. Yeah. I don't know why, but whenever like we're on stream, I always feel like I'm the guy defending Hex
I was
and
just thinking the
you're
exact
getting
same
BTC.
thing, that I was like, I hope this doesn't sound like I'm sort of shitting on Hex. I'm just, my preference would have been for these narratives to have stayed intact. Like that, especially where if Richard was pointing at other coins in the past, saying and saying that was something that differentiated Hex from those coins, and then now those statements are broken. Like my preference would have just been for that to have not happened. That's all I'm saying. Like I'm not
For there
saying
not to
I'm
be
not
the
saying I'm
downward
not saying it
quality.
breaks the I'm not saying it breaks the value proposition of Hex. I'm not saying that it's not a good asset to hold. I'm not saying that it will never go up ever again and that the price is going to die forever. I'm not saying any of those things. All I'm saying is that where Richard has made an accusational statement against other coins and compared Hex to those coins, saying Hex is better because of this, and this reason, I would have preferred those statements to have stayed intact so we could continue to point to those same things.
But he did always say that, but he did always, even on the Hex website, that crypto goes down 85 to 95%. So don't you think it would be incorrect to to say that he's like he's prepared users for that? So why would he say that if he didn't expect that to happen to the price of his token?
No one can point at those things and say that he did anything wrong. I agree. No one can point to those statements and be like, you deceived everyone, because it's something that he just didn't know for sure whether it would happen or not. But they can certainly point to it and say, they can certainly point to it and say, you shat on our coin because of this, and then your coin did the same. Like, as in, so that would be a fair comment for them to make. They can't say that he did something malicious or deceptive or any shit like that. Like they can't.
I think your thesis will only be the thesis. Do they get supported or proved? I think they get supported, don't they?
So, some of these things are.
I think it will only be supported if Hex never came out of the bear market, because then you could say, well, all those charts he talked about, he was saying, look, it's death and destruction forever. And in those cases, it was.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like literally forever, even into the next bull market, even into the next bull market. Yeah.
So that would only this argument would only apply if Hex never came good again.
That is such a fair rebuttal. I will retract that point. The death forever one, I concede that we need to see the next bull market or whatever. Like,
oh, by the way, someone in the chat has just said BTC has yield. Do you have anything to say about that, Tangent? You were telling me about this, something similar to this recently.
Yeah. I haven't tried it yet. I was actually meaning to look into it a bit more today, but apparently you can provide liquidity on the Lightning Network and get paid to do it. So, like no cost, no risk, trustless. So like the only risk is that when you've got assets, Bitcoin on the Lightning Network, it's hot wallets. So theoretically, it puts your Bitcoin at slightly more risk than if you have it in cold storage, but it's minimal. Like, as in, if your security is reasonable, it shouldn't be too bad. Like, but
this is a excuse me. This is a Lightning thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So
technically, it's not a Bitcoin.
But wait, this person in the chat might
a Bitcoin feature. It's more a you can get yield on your BTC, but it is through the Lightning Network.
Yeah, it's layer 2. It's not native to the Bitcoin network. But this person in chat might be talking about those ones where you actually like Celsius, where you actually hand your keys over. If they said Bitcoin can get yield, that's what they're probably talking about, is the ones that we advise against. Where because this liquidity ads thing is relatively recent, so it's probably unlikely that many people have heard about it. So,
can I ask you, when do you think, this is like sort of pivoting a little bit, when do you think we could expect, like just a rough guess or estimate, the top of the next bull market.
Sorry,
maybe a 6-month window.
Before we do that,
window.
I thought I'd just remind you about something you said that was actually correct about how the yield from doing those liquidity ads would probably be tiny in percent terms compared to Hex. Remember when we talked about that before? I think making predictions on time is probably more difficult than price. They're both very not I think it's kind of not that it's not really that useful to, and there's a lot of factors involved. I don't think. What was the actual question? When the next top will be?
Just when, but not specifically. Like, I'm happy like a 6-month window. Like do you think it's like a year? Roughly, like when do you think? I'm not going to hold you to it. It's not like I'm going to come back in a stream in like a year and say, "Motherfucker, you."
Yeah, actually, like, I do sort of have an answer for this. I was thinking about this the other day, and some chick I was seeing asked, and I said, 6 to 12 months, in my opinion, would be the fastest that it would occur. Like that. So I think we've got at least 6 months.
When's the halvening?
At least 6 months to turn around and get back up to the all-time high, to previous all-time highs. Minimum. So that would be absolute minimum would be 6 months. And then in terms of the maximum, I think like 3 years.
So when's the halvening?
2 years, 3 years, like two, like let's go 2 years. Just that would be based on the fact that crypto cycles tend to happen fairly quickly compared to legacy cycles. So it would be surprising for us to have multiple years, especially if you consider that we've already had almost a year. Now that retrospectively we can identify that we have been in a bear market. Now that it's more obvious that we are in a bear market, it's easier to determine where the start of that bear market was, or not determine, estimate. So yeah, I think somewhere between 6 months and 2 years, I think would be a broad window that I would give for new all-time highs in crypto. For the coins that will actually go to new all-time high, like Bitcoin and Hex. Some coins, like we were just talking about, will never recover.
What do you think is a reasonable price prediction for BTC?
So adding to that, I think any time from now is an excellent time for PulseChain to launch, because then you're looking at things being like bullish as shit. If my window is like approximately correct, then launching PulseChain now would be great, because then we basically, what was the next question? Bitcoin.
Yeah, Bitcoin top, and hey to guys and girls in the chat.
Dollars wise.
Yeah, dollars wise.
Oh, like at least 200, at least 200K, at least 200K, but probably higher.
At least.
You
reckon at least?
At least.
Really?
So I was thinking like somewhere between 150 and 200K would have been quite reasonable if we had done it this cycle. Now we're going into a new cycle. I think 200K Bitcoin would be a very like conservative minimum target. So I would say somewhere between $200,000 and $700,000 for a Bitcoin.
I think Bitcoin does like between a 15 and a 20x from its all-time low, or from its bottom in this cycle. So wherever that is.
So assuming that I'm right, if we did say 20 times 20. Shit, what's going on here?
But the low is 18.
So that would be 400 grand. So if we bottomed,
I'm probably leaning towards more the 15 than the 20, as in the X's, because the last one was like 20. So it seems to be going, the X's seem to be going down as time goes on.
So if you did 18 times 15, it's 270 grand. If you actually
yeah,
said like,
but I actually don't, but that's if this is, or the bottom is already in. But I actually think that the bottom's not in yet. And I wouldn't be surprised if we touch 14.5.
So if we went ultra conservative or like ultra pessimistic and said a 12K bottom for Bitcoin and times that by 15x, it's 180 grand, dude.
Yeah.
So you kind of agree with me then, like in terms of, because I was saying 200K, but I was saying minimum. You're saying like median.
I'd say
or
it could
whatever.
be. It's like, let me work it out. 69,000.
So you would only need, so if assuming that something like that is roughly correct, 180 grand. You would only need 5.5 Bitcoin to be a Bitcoin millionaire. At one, like, by assuming that target hits at the top of the cycle and that you can get out quickly enough before it all collapses in a heap again.
So what do you think Hex could do? I mean, I think that 200 grand, yeah, that sounds reasonable to me. It depends. If it goes down to 10 grand, if it actually goes to 11 grand, then it might be what? Yeah, maybe only 160, 170.
You know what I would actually genuinely love to see is if legacy fuckwits think that they can like create derivative products to try and manipulate the Bitcoin price, and they do that nonsense like what they did with gold, and then they don't realize that, or they think that they can just, they realize, but they think that they're just too hardcore to like not get fucked up by it. And then because people are actually taking custody of their own Bitcoin, it actually creates a supply squeeze that actually fucks them. And then people see that the spot price of people actually trying to get Bitcoin that they can withdraw just ends up like forcing it up and just completely breaking like an entire financial system or like a massive bank or some shit like that. It would be fucking glorious.
You know what would happen? No,
Bailouts. We end up paying for it anyway.
Well, the people who invest in that will lose because the companies will just not be able to pay them the Bitcoin. So the company will go broke because that's going to be that's obviously a centralized entity.
No. Only if they're the ones that are doing the manipulation bullshit. Like I'm saying, if it's external to the exchange that you're on, that they're trying to use like derivative products to manipulate shit, but the exchanges are still operating normally.
Because they get squeezed and then they just have to buy Bitcoin at whatever price. But if they can't afford to buy the Bitcoin, then they just won't buy the Bitcoin because they can't afford it. And then some people are not going to get their Bitcoin in that.
Hopefully before that happens, it actually highlights and shows the corruption, like as in before people.
But it goes to the whole thing that we're for, which is you hold your own keys. Like fuck this centralized 100%. Shit. Like, fuck all this centralized shit. When it comes to money and value, we don't need it.
Agreed.
We've got these systems now in place that mean that we don't need it. We don't need ETFs. Why do you need an ETF? Like you don't need it.
So it does help.
Why do you need it?
It does help with institutional investment because they can
look spot settled ETF.
Yes,
if it's spot
because it means they don't have to like research how to securely store it and shit like that. They can gain exposure to the asset without actually having to fuck around and learn about Bitcoin and like worry about the risk of storage and all that shit. They just buy it, like just buy the ETF.
But if it's paper, if it's not spot settled and it's paper, that's a problem. That's always going to end up being a problem because our legacy systems always fuck that up. Always.
Yeah, but I think the difference here is that Bitcoin is auditable, whereas say something like gold is not. It's not globally auditable. So I would hope that it will be not as fucked in the long term.
There was one other thing I wanted to bring up which slipped my mind before. It was what were we talking about? It slipped my mind again. Fuck. I'm a bit, you know what? I'm actually okay. Like I've got the vidco, but I'm okay, but I'm a little bit foggy, like in my mind.
I've heard that's a symptom, yeah. I'm actually starting to get a little bit tired as well, actually.
Yeah, man. I think we've done well, dude. We did an hour on the other.
Yeah, I was about to say this time is actually wrong because we did an hour on the other channel.
Yeah. Dude, thank you so much for coming on and being the first proper stream.
Is this the first stream? Oh, other than the dual streaming, this is the first stream.
Yeah. This is the first proper live stream on this channel.
Well,
thank you to everyone who came on.
I hope I didn't sound too argumentative or negative. You know, I've got mad love and respect for you and for the community and for Richard. And
likewise. No, dude, it's an exercise. And if I can come on here and we can, you know, discuss and debate this stuff, it's a bit of fun, hey.
How many? I like it. Did you see how many live viewers we got at the peak or whatever, or how many have stayed through till now?
Well, I think at the peak on this channel we had about 50, 55.
Cool, yeah, that's good.
Maybe. So yeah, that's all right. I think that's good.
This says there's 33 still watching, 42 likes.
Awesome. Hit the like. Guys, subscribe. We've got 153 subscribers now, so we've gone up by 50. That's not bad. Can't complain. Very happy with that. Hopefully we get some more people who come across from the other stream because they're going to watch that. And then at the end, when we write it.
Good point. Yeah, good point. That people watching that stream after, like, as in late, like on replay rather than live, might also come and sub to this channel. So, and someone actually has put a comment that Hex Asians is starting. So we were starting to overlap over someone else's stream as well. So it's probably good.
Really?
It's probably good that we call it. In fact, that's something I failed to do, was keep an eye on the chat to see if there was any interesting comments or questions or whatever. But we'll promise that the next time we do this, we'll take more comments. Just flicking through it now, it doesn't look like there was that. It was mainly people just, you know, throwing in support and commentary rather than questions or things that needed to be addressed. So that's positive.
The Hex Late Show will be on tomorrow as per usual. This was This was just I messaged Tangent today and say, hey, do you want to? We've been meaning to do this for like a few weeks, and we've just been busy, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Love you guys. Peace. We'll see you next time.
Stay free.